My name is Margaret Marlowe, and what I am about to share changed my life in ways I could never have anticipated. On October 3, 2021, I experienced something extraordinary. I died for exactly 19 minutes and 12 seconds. During that time, Jesus Christ revealed to me startling truths about the mark of the beast, truths that I have been tasked to share with the world. The revelations I received will challenge everything you thought you knew. Before I delve into those, let me explain how it all began. It was a crisp, clear Sunday morning, just like any other. The cool autumn air carried the scent of fallen leaves as I drove to my grandson's baptism. St. Michael's Church had been my spiritual home for over 30 years, and every turn on County Road 16 leading there was familiar. Passing the old Miller farm, its weathered barns standing resolute against time, I marveled at the beauty of the day and how perfectly it seemed to reflect the joy of the occasion. My heart overflowed with anticipation as I thought about the sacred moment my grandson would be welcomed into God's family. The evening before, I had lovingly prepared a special family Bible, inscribed with verses about God's enduring faithfulness, verses that would soon take on a meaning I could never have foreseen. I remember glancing at my watch, 8:47 a.m., and feeling relieved that I'd arrive with time to spare for final preparations. Then, in a split second, everything changed. Later, I learned that a drunk driver, awake for more than 24 hours, had crossed into my lane. The collision was devastating, but what seemed like an end became the beginning of something profound, a divine encounter that revealed truths about life, faith, and the choices humanity faces. The transition from life to death was instantaneous. One moment I was gripping the steering wheel, and the next, I was floating above the scene. Below me, 2 fire trucks and an ambulance surrounded my mangled car, their lights casting a surreal glow against the morning fog. What struck me first was the silence. It wasn't an absence of sound, but rather a softened, distant hum, as though the world had been wrapped in layers of cotton. I watched as paramedics worked frantically to free my body from the wreckage, using the jaws of life to cut through the twisted metal. From above, I could see myself slumped over the steering wheel, but I felt no pain, no fear, only an overwhelming sense of calm, as though I was exactly where I was meant to be. One of the paramedics shouted, "Her BP is dropping. We need her out now," though his voice reached me as if through a dense fog. I wanted to tell them not to worry. I felt no discomfort or panic, only a deep peace I had never known in my 65 years of life. Decades of aches and pains, including a constant one in my knee, were gone. My vision, usually blurred without glasses, was now sharper than ever. Time felt fluid in this state, bending and stretching. I saw my grandson's baptismal gift, the family Bible I had lovingly wrapped, floating slowly through the air, its pages fluttering like the wings of a bird before landing gently on the grass. Then, I noticed the light. It began as a distant point, glowing faintly in what felt like an upward direction, though concepts of up or down felt meaningless in this state. As the light grew brighter, I realized it wasn't just illumination, it was alive. It radiated warmth, love, and an invitation. I couldn't resist moving toward it, drawn by a force more powerful than words can describe. It was impossible to describe, unlike any light I had ever experienced. It seemed to possess substance, texture, and most remarkably, consciousness. The light wasn't just illuminating, it was alive, reaching out to me, calling me home. What appeared to be a tunnel formed before me, though the word tunnel barely captured the essence of it. The walls were composed of living light, moving and shifting in patterns that conveyed meaning beyond words. I felt an understanding flowing into me, not in the form of thoughts or ideas, but as a profound remembrance of truths I had always known yet somehow forgotten during my time on Earth. As I moved through this space of living light, I became aware of a presence beside me. Turning, though I had no physical body to turn with, I saw my grandmother, Martha, exactly as she had appeared in the summer of 1962, when she taught me how to bake her famous apple pie. She wore her favorite blue gingham dress, her silver hair neatly styled in a bun, and her eyes sparkled with the same mix of wisdom and mischief I had loved. "Grandmother," I tried to speak, but no words came. None were needed. Her smile carried everything, every shared summer morning, every lesson, every expression of love. She looked younger than I was now, vibrant with life and joy. Though she didn't speak, her presence conveyed a message more powerful than words. Everything is exactly as it should be. Other presences began to appear as we moved through the tunnel. My childhood friend Sarah, who had died of leukemia when we were both 12, my father, strong and healthy as he had been before the cancer, and most astonishingly Jamie, my first grandchild, who had lived only a few hours after birth. Jamie wasn't a baby now, but a young man, radiant with love and joy. Each encounter felt like an eternity and an instant, confirming with every fiber of my being that what I was experiencing was more real than anything I had known on earth. The journey through the tunnel defied earthly understanding. We moved without moving, traveled without distance, and experienced time without its passage. Colors beyond the earthly spectrum danced at the edges of my awareness, making rainbows seem dull in comparison. A sound filled every part of my being, not merely music but the essence of existence itself, a harmony of love and creation. My consciousness expanded. Memories long buried resurfaced with vivid clarity, not just as recollections but as immediate, present realities. I could taste my mother's sugar cookies from Christmas 1965, feel the precise texture of my husband's hand when he first held mine at the county fair in 1973, and relive the overwhelming joy of holding each of my children for the first time. These weren't just memories, they were alive, immediate, all happening simultaneously in this eternal moment. As we neared the end of the tunnel, the light grew even more intense. Yet, instead of discomfort, it felt like coming home to a place I had always belonged but never known. The space opened into an infinite expanse, defying all earthly geometry and logic. It was as if every possibility and reality existed simultaneously, woven together in perfect harmony. That's when I saw him. Jesus Christ stood before me, or perhaps it's more accurate to say his presence filled everything. He didn't merely stand, he existed in all things yet was entirely personal and focused. He appeared as the humble carpenter of Nazareth and the glorified King of Kings, simultaneously. His love radiated with such overwhelming intensity that it would have destroyed my earthly body, yet here it felt like the most natural, life-giving thing imaginable. His appearance shifted in a way that was both constant and fluid. At one moment, he appeared fully human, his eyes holding unfathomable depths of understanding and compassion. The next, he was pure light and energy, more brilliant than 1,000 suns. Both manifestations were equally real and equally approachable, embodying both the infinite and the intimate. True, equally him. I understood that my limited earthly consciousness was incapable of perceiving his full reality all at once. In his presence, I became deeply aware of my spirit in a way I never had before. Every choice I had made, every person I had touched, every prayer I had whispered had created ripples in the fabric of existence. Nothing was insignificant, every action carried profound meaning. Even my failures and moments of fear were illuminated. I saw the shadows created by missed opportunities to love or to speak truth. Yet, even these shortcomings were encompassed by his limitless love and woven into his divine purpose. Nothing was wasted, every fragment of my life had contributed to a greater plan. Then he addressed me, not with spoken words, but through a communication that bypassed language entirely and resonated within my soul. "Margaret," he imparted, "what you are about to witness must be shared. My children need to be warned and prepared for what is to come." Suddenly, I was immersed in a series of visions that were so vivid and all-encompassing they made earthly reality feel like a pale imitation. Jesus revealed how the mark of the beast would be implemented, and it was far more subtle and insidious than most could imagine. I saw how current technological systems, digital currencies, biometric identification, and social credit structures were only the foundation. These were the stepping stones. The true mark would transcend technology, combining economic, social, and spiritual control in such a way that resistance would appear not only futile but irrational. This system would be presented as the ultimate solution to humanity's greatest problems: economic inequality, climate change, social discord, and even religious conflict. It would promise to unify humanity, ensuring fairness, universal access to resources, and global harmony. The deception would be so convincing that even religious leaders would champion it. Jesus showed me how advanced technologies, such as artificial intelligence and quantum computing, would enable total surveillance and control. However, these technologies themselves weren't the mark, they were tools to facilitate its arrival. The true mark would require a deliberate choice, to pledge loyalty to the Antichrist system and reject God's sovereignty. What stood out most was the immense social pressure that would be used to enforce compliance. Those who refused the mark would be labeled as extremists, conspiracy theorists, and enemies of progress. The media would spin stories portraying dissenters as a danger to society, selfish and misguided. Families would fracture under the weight of this division, as loved ones pressured one another to comply for their mutual well-being. I was shown global events that would set the stage for the mark: economic collapse, natural disasters, and widespread societal unrest. The chaos would drive humanity to desperation, making them beg for a solution, any solution. When the system was finally revealed, it would appear to be an answer to prayer, though it came with an unthinkable cost: the surrender of one's soul. I also saw how underground networks of believers would form, supporting one another through persecution. These groups wouldn't be driven by fear, but by unshakable love and faith. They would find creative ways to survive outside the system, living as outcasts from mainstream society, but unified in their trust in God. Then Jesus showed me something that broke my heart. I saw people I had known, faithful Christians who had attended church their entire lives, accepting the mark. They weren't driven by malice or rebellion, but were deceived by the promises of security and peace. Their complacency and lack of spiritual vigilance led them to make the devastating decision. The urgency of these revelations weighed heavily on me. I knew I had to share what I had seen and prepare others for what was coming. This was more than a vision, it was a call to action. A call for unwavering faith, courage, and steadfast belief in God's truth. Because they hadn't prepared spiritually for the deception, they focused so much on physical preparation that they neglected to build the spiritual discernment needed to recognize the true nature of the choice they faced. The vision shifted, showing me current events aligning with these future scenarios. I saw how the pandemic had accelerated the adoption of digital systems, normalizing the concept of proving one's status to participate in society. Social media was conditioning people to accept constant surveillance and social scoring. These weren't the mark itself, but they were clear precursors, conditioning minds and hearts to accept what would eventually come. Jesus emphasized that while technology would play a critical role, the mark of the beast would ultimately be a spiritual choice. It would require a conscious, deliberate acknowledgement of the Antichrist as Lord and an outright rejection of Jesus Christ. There would be no accidental acceptance or coercion involved. This choice would present a stark contrast: temporary earthly comfort versus eternal salvation. I was shown how some believers would be called to martyrdom, their faith unwavering to the end. Others would be supernaturally protected and provided for. Each person would have a role to play in God's divine plan, and He would grant the grace needed for their unique journey. The vision concluded with breathtaking scenes of Christ's triumphant return and ultimate victory. Though the time of the mark would bring unparalleled hardship, it would be mercifully brief. Jesus reassured me that His return was not only certain but imminent. Those who remained faithful would be vindicated and rewarded in ways beyond human comprehension. As I felt myself being drawn back to my body, I was filled with an urgent sense of mission. The doctors later told me I had been clinically dead for 19 minutes and 12 seconds, but I knew those moments had been divinely orchestrated. Every second had been essential to receive and understand the message I was now called to share. Since that day, I have watched the world moving swiftly toward the scenarios Jesus revealed to me. The increasing push for digital identity systems, the mounting social pressure to conform to evolving ideologies, and the subtle conditioning to accept greater control over personal freedoms, it's all unfolding exactly as He showed me. I share this testimony not to instill fear, but to encourage preparation, vigilance, and faith. Jesus made it clear, while challenging times lie ahead, He will never abandon those who remain faithful to Him. His grace will be sufficient for any trial. The mark of the beast is coming, but so is Christ's glorious return. Now is the time to prepare, spiritually, mentally, and practically. May this testimony serve to strengthen your faith and resolve, enabling you to stand firm, no matter the challenges that await.